Alright, welcome to Gary Grigsby's War in the East. It is the top of turn 8, and we had some significant setbacks this turn. Um, Another 150,000 casualties, 155,000 casualties, so not as bad as it could be, but still very, very bad. Let's see about the historical events. RAF still raiding Germany. Excellent. Oh, and lots of partisan activity. So that is also excellent. The events are in our favor. Alright, so in this strategic overview, it is yet another rough Soviet turn. We'll go south to north, I guess. In the south, Yezny Bug Line did not last at all. And the Axis continued their drive on Kiev, although it wasn't. They didn't make that much progress this turn. We even held them off here. Um, in the center and west, they simply pushed forward in important places, getting near encirclements on some of our units, and just shoving our line back all the way out of the defensive terrain towards Bryansk. This is fucking terrible. They also surrounded Smolensk, though they didn't take it, so that's at least a little bit good. They also shoved everybody around Velhiluki back, often at great cost to us. Another bad omen, and more troops stranded. And in the north, they shoved the fuck out of the Narva line. That's okay, actually. As much as this looks bad, and it is a breakthrough, so we will have to refortify this other side, like, this is probably the least bad place they could have attacked in the north. It gets them closer to Leningrad, but it doesn't cut it off at all. They did push out this direction, though, which is concerning, because we don't want... They probably can't, like, push up here and cut it off this way, but we don't want them to get the chance to cut these guys' supplies off at all. We've got 3 rail lines now, 4, though this one I doubt will hold. We've got 4 rail lines essentially into this area, here, 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 and here. So that's the essential point for keeping Leningrad alive. This defensive line has become unhinged, so these units will have to move north and take up positions along here. But, counting our blessings, that's Leningrad Front is probably still in relatively good shape. Now, the Air Command phase. Leningrad Air Command continues to retreat. Baltic Air Command, it's set on retreat, but there's basically nowhere for it to go. Northwestern is set on flexible, but given the main German drive that blasted out the center of our forces, it may need to be set on retreat as well. Actually, Leningrad is probably fine going to flex now that I think about it. Reserve Air Command, flex, fine. Western Air Command, flex, fine-ish. Long Range Air Command, I don't know why you're in the battle. Flex, I guess, is fine. What is this? Where are you? What are you doing? Are you actually in enemy territory? What is this? Moscow Air Command is fine. Southwestern actually needs to be set back to flex. It is way too far from the front, as does Southern. Those are our air directives that we may as well execute. Let's start the actual turn with the Southern Front, and this is going to need... Might as well check on my reinforcements already, because I know I'm going to need to send them out. Alright, we have significant reinforcements, and a lot of them are going to have to go to the Southern Front, because the Southern Front is now in big, big trouble. This part of it is probably going to just have to shift just leave this to the Southwestern Front, as bad as that is, because that front's not in any good shape either, but, we need to take up defenses along here. We're going to keep our Nikolaev defense. That's fine, but this is a major German breakthrough, and we do not want them breaking further into Ukraine. We need to defend some of these rivers somewhere. So this whole southern front is going to have to probably shift all this way, and that's just bad. We'll put somebody in Kirovgrad, somebody probably defending here, but we just have more land than we could defend at this point. And the Germans just smashing our Yuzhny Bug line in one turn is just fucking terrible. We got a lot of routes. We probably blew too much time along these small rivers. We probably should have just retreated directly from Odessa to the Yuzhny Bug, which, by the way, they still have not attacked Odessa. While this is bad for us, and they will take Odessa from us, the fact that we are, holding up a bunch of Romanian army and German airborne divisions in this siege with our with our single rifle division and the coastal guns in the fort here is probably good for us. If they attack it and don't take it, but reduce the forts, then we can navally evacuate the unit, and that's great, but they'll likely take it. But that's okay because it'll blow a lot of their combat power. So we're just going to have to try to sort this out and hopefully get reinforcements in. I would refer to this position as quite bad. We essentially have one line. It's not in great terrain. We have no backup line and very little, well, almost just a ragged scattershot backup line and no reserves. We have a decent position here, and we have a good position in Nikolaev. This rifle division is now in excellent shape, so we're probably not going to lose Nikolaev anytime soon. However, that won't matter if our entire if they just keep pushing north and unhinge the flank of this, or they keep pushing east and just outflank above Nikolaev and just push across these rivers, we may end up having to defend at the Dnieper, as much as that would absolutely suck. We've moved our HQ and our air command all the way back to Zaporizhzhia, so that is terrible. While in reality, in real history, Germans did reach Rostov in 1941, so we are significant away from the historical high water mark. That is was a pretty poor performance on the Soviets' part, and was the result of Germany moving troops from the Moscow area and that offensive down to the southern front in order to get more pockets. We have managed to avoid some of the great pockets, but we cannot afford to have our army shot up so badly that it can no longer defend. Now that that's done, we have the Southwestern Front, which has been put in a shitty position because of the Southern Front. We're going to have to pull back slightly, straighten up our line, defend in this region, or we'll either have to defend in this region or just choose to pull back, and it may be the play to just pull back to these rivers. We're also going to need to defend in the Kiev region, which we'll be able to do, I think. But it's not looking good for us. They blew through our screen in the Pripyat, but that's kind of fine. And they did push us back. They're just grinding us slowly back towards Kiev. So we're going to probably need to move these some of these depleted units across the Dnieper to refit, and just buy, with our able units, we just need to buy Kiev as much time as we possibly can to fortify. We have guys refitting in Kiev. We have guys fortifying up Kiev. This hex is kind of weak. I may move that weak anti-tank unit into Kiev itself and replace it with something. That hex is weak, but I'm actually fine with that hex being weak. The main thing is we want some of these hexes in front of the city to be strong. We do want to have a line, at least one defensive line in front of the city that is going to hold off the Germans. The good news is they seem to be getting pretty badly depleted in the Southwestern Front's area. They still have lots of strong divisions, but I saw attacks by Romanians, and I'm also seeing lots of Hungarians. This an attack by Hungary. They had to use Hungarian troops here. We held against Romanian infantry divisions. So they did, in order to make some of these other things happen along the front, they did have to move in a lot of the Axis allied units, which are going to be weaker and easier for us to deal with. Do we want these strong units here? I don't think we do. We might. I might want one. Yeah, I'll move them. Okay. See when it's done. We've done about the best we can with what we've had on the Southwestern Front, and we've also altered the command structure. 38th Army is going to take what's left of the Yezny Bug line and defend that southern area there. 12th Army is going to be defending the area right next to them. 50th Army is basically just a container for routed and refitting units, but we'll try to get them back in the fight, back up to snuff, and when we get them back into the fight, they will have a lot of armored units and probably be ironically strong, even though right now they're one of our weakest units. Up from that, the 19th Army is going to face, this messy area. They're going to take the defense of that. Up from them, we have the 6th Army providing some of the defense of the southwestern sector of Kiev. Then the northwestern and northern sectors of Kiev are covered by the 32nd Army. Then the 5th Army is just another container for routed units. Undo that move. They are just trying not to, they're just going to try to put things back together. And the 26th Army is going to be in charge of all the units in Kiev itself. This hex is, again, a little worrisome, but I feel like these 3 hexes are very strong, and so we will be able to set up a reasonable defense. It will also take the Germans maybe a few turns to get there, so hopefully we have like level 3 forts in all these spots. But we're going to see an actual fight for the city. We also moved out all our guys out of this pocket, and now the Southwestern Front is not covering any more of the Pripyat, except for this one paratrooper division. We couldn't get out. But hopefully these units don't have to defend, because that's going to be the Central Front's responsibility. And on to the Central Front, they basically took a tremendous drubbing here. That was a hold. That's good. Oh, that wasn't too bad. But I bet this was. Yeah, it was. Routed. So they basically took a tremendous drubbing here and got pushed off of Gomel. They've also got quite a lot of weak units, so they're another candidate for reinforcements, though I doubt we'll have enough to give them. So they're just going to pull back from the Chernobyl area and shorten our line immensely. The Pripyat position is going to be completely, we're not going to hold it any longer. However, there's a lot of strong German combat units in the Pripyat, so getting them bogged down in the swamp, I think, was worth it. I guess this is still part of the Pripyat marshes, but for all intents and purposes, the Germans have taken that region. We're going to be defending around the Chernigov region instead. Where the fuck is Chernigov? There it is. They are nearly to Chernigov, so we need to start really fortifying that hex stat. But we're just going to put together what defensive lines we can in this region and hope. Kind of sucks to suck, but that's where it is. Main thing that was to highlight how few decent units we even have left in this region. This entire front is in bad shape. Granted, it was a minor front we brought into existence to take pressure off the Western Front, but boy howdy is it in rough shape. So We pulled back. We've got a defensive line as best we can. Um, so, yikes. We might have to redeploy some of this when the Western Front comes in, because the Western Front got probably the most hammered out of any of our fronts this turn, and just kind of in tradition of them just getting owned. They, in order to complete the encirclement of Smolensk and attempt to encircle our forces, they have pushed hard through this area and hard towards Bryansk. So we are going to have to pull troops back to make a line near Bryansk, and we're probably going to have to abandon parts of this line in order to make another line in front of the German advance. This is another German breakthrough of the likes we haven't seen in a while. I mean, I say that. I guess the Leningrad Front thing was a big German breakthrough, but this was very bad for us. This front is in bad shape, and again, it's another candidate for reinforcement. So we have three real candidates, like the Western and Central, which is bad, and then the Southern Front. And if those fronts don't get reinforcements and they break through there, they threaten the flanks of our other fronts. So that's pretty terrible, but we'll see what we can do. Won't sugarcoat it, this is awful. We managed to throw up a defensive line between the Germans and Bryansk, but it's not a good one and it's not going to last. Over here, it's possible we should just evacuate this. This is a pocket waiting to happen. I'm trying to save this cavalry division, but that might be stupid. Actually, it probably is stupid. So hopefully this guy retreats and doesn't doesn't get stuck out. We're just going to get our guys back. We'll lose some terrain, but we'll take up positions here, and this is just kind of a holding spot to give us more time to fortify around the Bryansk position. The Bryansk position is the last real position, I guess maybe Urel is, before the good offensive terrain starts. Now, the Germans are running out of time. It is August 10th. It's about a week per turn, so they do have limited time. They have maybe 3 or 4 turns before September hits. September, it'll be fall proper, and then we'll start seeing some rain and some mud, and their offensive will grind to a halt. Now, if we manage to do that in good defensive terrain, that's good for us. Or, really, if they push us in the offensive terrain, and then the mud comes in and that stops their offensive, then that's great for us. But if we can stop them in defensive terrain, that's good. This front will absolutely need reinforcement. It's one of the 3 bad ones, but that's just what we're going to have to do. Now, on the in the reserve front, which actually, even though it got beaten up a fair amount, its position is generally good. This is a line that's holding. Some of these units are going to have to move back to refit, and we may move a unit in to try to keep Smolensk supplied. Smolensk will fall, but they are surrounding it, and it will fall, but they haven't. That's come at the expense of them pushing the entire front. This front is holding in good terrain, and behind them we actually have one of our rare fortified positions because we have the Moscow militia that's been digging in, and these are actually becoming very, very strong units simply because they've dug in and they haven't faced combat. Their readiness is high. So if we do get pushed along the road to Moscow, we're going to keep fighting at every point, and once we reach the outer ring of defenses, we will have pre-prepared defensives to fall back to. So them taking Moscow is not in the cards for this year. They would have to do a lightning blitz up to it, and they're not going to do it. So this front's going to be relatively easy, but we're going to try to reestablish contact with Smolensk, just keep it alive as long as possible, and get the weak units out. Alright, Bob's your uncle, simple as, just moved a couple of units. This front could stand to get some more units, but it is not a priority comparatively. Alright, NorthWestern Front. Here we got punished fairly severely. They did take Velhiluki. Actually, they took it and then pushed beyond it. as well as really punish some of our weaker units we had in the region. This is another front where we have a lot of weak units. We're going to have to retreat from some of our front line areas, which kind of sucks, but that's fine. Ironically, we have our anchors in this is fine, and our center is failing. This line is being undermined, but we are going to again. It's undermined from the south, but we are going to again just try to move out the the units that are in a bad way and keep as much defense as we have. It's also in a weird spot because here we have excellent supplies along this railway, and then this rail link has been cut. Ooh, they really failed on this one. Interesting. So they did send in several attacks against this position and lost against it. So this is probably going to be our anchor here. We need to get this guy out. We need to probably get this guy out. Maybe leave this cavalry division. This armored division has nowhere good to go. Anyway, this mess, we're going to have to kind of probably pull units from the side to defend here, and we're going to we really just need to pull a lot of these depleted units just actually as far back as we can get them. That doesn't sound great, but they absolutely need refits, and having them in the combat area sucking up supplies is going to be terrible. Now, they will be out of the combat area sucking up supplies, but that's that I would rather have them suck up supplies further back where there's more places they can get them than sucking up supplies in the combat area. Now you see the forests are hampering movement to the point that even our retreats are being hampered somewhat. But that's what we're doing there. And this is kind of a mess of units and general retreat through the woods, but we're just going to keep doing what we're doing and make the Germans push through the woods. If this position gets undermined, we'll just bring it back further. I would love to have this bridgehead so that when the winter offensive does come, we can have just a short attack here to reestablish the rail link, and then these guys just pushing all like from this bridgehead pushing to Pskov, and then that won't cut off the German army up here entirely because they now have Narva, but they will having to send like your trains all the way through Estonia would be very bad for them. And if they can't complete this rail link, then they also can't get that much supply through from the south. So this is a great position to hold. We'll see if we're able to. If they keep pushing us back here, this is going to be less and less tenable, and we'll have to start like shifting this position back. This position is a strong bridgehead, which we are continuing to hold, and will be a platform for counterattacks, possibly even soon. So this, I feel good about this position. Now onto the Leningrad Front. They are continuing to push us northeast here, which is bad. Granted, it has kind of become a slog. The casualties have gotten a little bit more even, and we're seeing fewer and fewer routes, so that's good. On the other hand, they did just shatter the Narva line entirely. That is... Why'd you suck so much? But... They did shatter the Narva line entirely, so we will have to shift our defenses over here and into this forward defense of Leningrad. But our forward defenses of Leningrad will mean that Leningrad itself will have plenty of time to fortify. We do want to get probably someone else into the Orienbaum fortress, fortifying it. One naval brigade won't hold it, so we'll probably move a fairly strong division into it. We want strong divisions. Essentially, we want all divisions in all these hexes, and we'll have to pick and choose which one of them are properly outfitted for it. We'll also retreat a lot of our depleted units either into Leningrad or north of Leningrad to start manning those positions. Come to think of it, this front also wants reinforcements, but probably is not going to be able to get them. We can only afford double lines in part of our line if we want to continue defending, continue fortifying Leningrad, and we had to shift troops within the city itself. Not feeling great about this front. However, the cutoff is probably not going to happen. What might actually happen is we'll have to deal with some frontal assaults on the city, and so that'll be interesting to see if we've appropriately fortified it. We did actually move in a rifle division to this hex, so we'll start fortifying there. But I'm not feeling amazing about this front. In the Baltic, they still have a lot more combat power tied up than we did, but no longer is Estonia going to be distracting them, which is probably the cause of some of our misfortunes. Tallinn, they have not attacked it yet, nor did they attack Harama or Saima, so those front forces will continue holding there as a distraction. Reinforcement-wise, we have a lot more reinforcements than we did earlier, and we actually even have some anti-tank brigades and mechanized units coming in as reinforcements. I shouldn't say a lot. We have a little more reinforcements than we did earlier. Those are mainly going to have to be in our most depleted fronts are going to have to get the attention because we're not getting a whole lot. Now, I believe if we check info screen, there's our schedule. All right, so we did have a fair amount of units. Actually, we have a lot of units arriving this turn, but most of them are in the reserves or the Far East, and we even had a few units arriving on map. Next turn, we have scheduled, well, these are going to the Transcaucasus. Okay. Next turn, we have scheduled, alright, some more rifled units going in reserve. So it's going to be a fair amount of time, probably, before we can get the units we need. We'll have to make do with what we have, as sad as that is. In our reserves, we are actually getting a lot of tank brigades, but they're not ready yet, so we'll have to refit them to make them ready. And we are getting in a fair amount of rifle divisions, so we will be able to deploy them to the map, and they'll arrive in a turn. They'll have one turner delay, then they'll arrive, but we'll actually be able to get those guys into operation. So we ended up transferring an anti-tank brigade to Leningrad, about 5 divisions to this critical area, and a couple of divisions to the Southern Front, which is not great reinforcements, but it's what we have. We also have those mountain cavalry units that are going to be incoming pretty soon, but we'll see how long that lasts. One last thing I may want to do is check on see if any of these front commanders could be replaced with someone more up to snuff. So that's a 4th Army. So if we go to the Central Front, who is Anton Ulick? He is okay, I think. Let's see. But we could do better. No, apparently we can't. Budyene is probably better, but not that much better. So we can't really do better than him. What about the Western Front? Your commanders get auto-dismissed if they lose too hard. Did we replace you? Pavlov? I think Pavlov is okay. His political is bad, but that's political. His morale is not good. We may want to just get someone with higher morale into this into the Western Front. Marshal Shapirlov. Yes, he has. He's not a great leader. Oh, that's his admin. But he at least has higher morale. What about Budyenny? He has high. Budyenny has high morale and high political. So I think we're going to replace him. Field Marshal Budyenny is an old cavalryman from like World War One and the Russian Civil War. He's not got a stellar reputation, but in this game he has a high morale stat, and I kind of want these guys to stay and fight. So we're bringing him in, and that'll be it for us. Time to ship off the turn again. I don't think I'm going to record this turn.